Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris. Throughout all of Catholic history, all 2,000 years, there have been multiple conversions of the intellectual kind. St. Augustine, of course, immediately springs to mind, Anglican prelate and now Catholic saint John Henry Newman of the 19th century, and so forth. Of course, behind the scenes, grace is always operative, but that grace operates on some aspect, some dynamic of the person, and quite often that is the intellect. In the here and now, a couple prominent personalities come to mind. Dr. Jordan Peterson, for example, who more and more with every utterance is sounding as Catholic as can be, and then Tucker Carlson, who since giving a speech Friday night at the Heritage Foundation, of which we're about to show you a couple of clips, is no longer at Fox News or the network. Regardless, Carlson may be going through an intellectual conversion of his own, and whether he realizes it or not, that conversion is leading to Catholicism. Last week, he gave the closing remarks at that two-day summit at the Heritage Foundation and sounded exactly like a Catholic intellectual. The cause? Since he appears to be a man of goodwill, he's simply looking around the world and realizing that everything playing out politically is, in truth, not politics at all, but actually spiritual.
When people or crowds of people, or the largest crowd of people at all, which is the federal government, the largest human organization in human history, decide that the goal is to destroy things, destruction for its own sake. Hey, let's tear it down. What you're watching is not a political movement, it's evil.
Bam. As Church Militant has been saying for years now, based on our Catholic faith, everything is spiritual war. It's thankful to see others begin to plug into this. Interestingly, on the specific point of religion itself, Tucker full-on admitted his own Episcopalianism is completely and utterly insufficient in the face of this evil.
I'm an Episcopalian, so don't take any theological advice from me, because I don't have any. I grew up in the shallowest faith tradition that's ever been invented. It's not even a Christian religion at this point. I say with shame.
It's a very small step for someone like Tucker to then understand that all of Protestantism is insufficient in the face of this evil, and then one more step to realize that the philosophical underpinnings of the Protestant heresy are actually the cause of this evil. It opened the door to every bit of it. And for the highly sensitive and easily offended, we are not talking about individual Protestants. We are talking about the heresy of Protestantism. Tucker, like so many well-intentioned people, used to begin with a basic assumption when assessing politics and policy. That assumption was, we all agree on the desired outcome. What we're arguing about is the method. Which policy is the best to arrive at the agreed-upon outcome? However, the culture has become so rotten, so morally bankrupt, that Tucker, like every good Catholic, has discovered that assumption is wrong. It no longer applies. One of the two sides is not on board with the good. It seeks an evil outcome. That makes political discourse now fruitless. While trying to avoid direct theological terms while speaking on the current state of affairs, Tucker found it unavoidable, whether he realized it or not.
I'll put it in non-political, non-specific theological terms, and just say, if you want to know what's evil and what's good, what are the characteristics of those? And by the way, I think the Athenians would have agreed with this. This is not necessarily just a Christian notion. This is kind of a, I would say, widely agreed upon understanding of good and evil. What are its products? What do these two conditions produce? Well, good is characterized by order, calmness, tranquility, peace, whatever you want to call it, lack of conflict, cleanliness. Cleanliness is next to godliness. It's true, it is. And evil is characterized by their opposites: violence, hate, disorder, division, disorganization, and filth. So if you are all in on the things that produce the latter basket of outcomes, what you're really advocating for is evil. That's just true. I'm not calling for religious war, far from it. I'm merely calling for an acknowledgement of what we're watching.
Yeah, bam again. Good and evil are theological terms. Tucker even used the word God in your description. In fact, they are part of the foundational vocabulary of theology. They are, in fact, the hallmarks of describing spiritual warfare. But that's okay. He's a smart dude. He'll come to understand all of that. It is extremely rewarding to watch a good mind move to and embrace the truth. It's tremendous, in fact. Very few things on earth are more satisfying than watching a conversion in real time. Tucker, like many, still has to embrace the fullness of truth, but that is never possible until one begins. Every journey, as they say, begins with the first step. He's certainly much further down the road than the first step. So, allow us to ask you, in your daily rosary, all of you listening to this, make a virtual intention right now, hit pause, and make a virtual intention right now to include the necessary graces for Tucker to cooperate with them to come into the Catholic Church. For a man with goodwill, truth is irresistible. It is, in fact, intoxicating. It is, at the end of the day, Christ himself, and he can be found nowhere more completely and fully than in the church he established and died for and remains with to this day. And if you see this, Tucker, by some chance, baby steps need to eventually turn into man steps. Keep walking, and if we may, consider these two quotes from a fellow very intelligent man of his day, like you are today. This man's name is Juan Donoso Cortes, a 19th century Spaniard who wrote in his Essays on Catholicism, Liberalism, and Socialism, 1879, he wrote, "Don't tire yourself in seeking a place of security against the chances of war, for you tire yourself in vain. That war is extended as far as space and prolonged through all time. In eternity alone, the country of the just, can you find rest, because there alone there is no combat." And this one that we have frequently quoted from the exact same work, Catholicism is the law of life, the life of the intelligence, the solution of all problems. Catholicism is the truth, and everything that departs from it one iota is disorder, deception, and error. Enjoy the journey, Tucker. It is well worth it. God love you. I'm Michael Voris.